Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Helix. Today on the Helix, we'll be going over my performance at Grand Prix San Antonio. So at San Antonio, I went 5-3. I played against 4 different Mardu mid-range decks, and 1 Mardu aggro deck, which I found very curious. I also played against the Mono Red aggro deck, which played all 1-drops, excluding its Stuck the Flames of course, and occasional Lightning Strike. And then I also played against the 4-color Planeswalker deck, which was very intriguing, and unfortunately I didn't have a very good game against them because I didn't have many lands, but outside of that, it was a great evening. Now I only made it to day 1, but I still feel like this is one of the better choices for the event. I played blue-black myself, and the reason I played blue-black is because I feel very comfortable with the deck myself, and I also feel like the deck has a very easy matchup against a lot of the aggro decks where they're not expecting it to be a very hard matchup at all, and so they really don't have much prepared for it. So let's get started. So 4-dig is really what you want to be doing. It's a very late game card at the least, even if you play it for cheap. Delving for 6 is not very uncommon for this, but really what you want to be doing is you want to save these for the late game, and you want to just try to slow roll your opponent's resources as much as you can until you can trade for 1-for-1, and then this really gets you ahead. Dissolve is really what you want to be getting with this a lot of times. Mainly Dig's purpose is to make sure your opponent can't compete with you anymore, and Dissolve really makes it to where nothing gets value, because it's always a 1-for-1 card, excluding several key instances in the Mardu aggro deck, which I found really intriguing. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a moment. The Scry is actually really valuable, and it's much better than something like Dissipate. Hero's Downfall. Hero's Downfall usually answers a lot. Now, it's a little bit weaker against cards like Lion, but still very valuable, even in those matchups. And it should be standard for all black decks. In some variety, you want 4 between the main and the side, and this deck just plays all the room of what can. We're also playing 4 Biles. Bile Blight really allows us to just answer a lot of key threats like Hordly Outburst, which, as you can expect, I played against a lot during the evening, if you counter in all my Mardu midrange decks. And there was one Mardu midrange deck that really took key advantage of this, and Soren's plus ability. And what I mean by this, of course, is the Horde and Outburst. But anyway, this really allows you to answer that in a way that you just don't lose to, because all this deck does is 1-for-1, and the Bile Blight really takes it to where you can still 1-for-1 against a deck like that. Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize is a very valuable card because it lets you answer things that you can't usually answer effectively once they're already on play. And it also gets you another card in the graveyard that you can counter trade off easily for cards like Dig. And our next card, Murder's Cut. Murder's Cut really allows us to just go in there and kill things. Go in there and kill things. Now, why Murder's Cut is so valuable in this task is that it really allows you to just get a lot of tempo boost. Like, this deck doesn't worry a lot about tempo, but it really worries about just dying. And usually you're okay if you're not dead, even if you're really behind on board. And what's great about this deck is it really doesn't build up a board state per se, as much as try to tear down your opponents. And so your opponent's removal really isn't used as much as it is against other decks. And so main deck, in particular, which is why some of my sideboard threats are a bit more promising afterwards. But anyway, some of the main board kill spells that they have don't really do anything. And so it really comes down to killing the key threats that they do have. And so Murder's Cut is just one of the more valuable ones because it can be most mana efficient one. And then Jason's Ingenuity. Ingenuity is very good. It's Dig 5-7, but that's a fine role to play. Disdainful Stroke. I really like this card. I wouldn't play more than 2. Again, I played against a lot of Mardu midrange, which is a very diverse deck. It can go wide or high, but I still think 2 is a right number just for main deck against anything. Silence Believers. See, I've opted this instead of Perilous Vault. Perilous Vault I feel is a little slow against a lot of decks, and this allows you to answer really cheap threats, especially after the fact. And the difference between 9 and 7 is really huge, I feel. And again, it has the same active role on turn 4, so I really like it, and it leaves you open to other spells. Pearl Lake is just the best finisher in my eye. Prognosis Fix is very good, don't get me wrong, but I just like this guy because he doesn't die to anything. And his value is really phenomenal. I just love him. Sorry. Aether Spouts. Aether Spouts really allows you to deal with a lot of things that you can't. Like a Fleece Mainline, that's very hard for this deck to deal with, especially since we don't run many Perilous Volts. Spoiler, 1 Perilous. But anyway, these 2 cards in particular, in tandem, really allow you to answer things that the other kill spells and counter really can't. Like, even our uncounterable Pearl Lake can't be answered by our counter spells, where this really does allow us to do that and maybe get some other value on it too. Moving on to the lands, we have 1 Evolving Wilds, which really allows us to get our fetch land number 5 in, but it also becomes a live land off of Urborg, and the untap sometimes really matters in that case. And then I played 3 of these guys. Now, the reason this is very valuable is the deck needs a lot of life lane. I'll say the one thing I underestimated about this deck is sometimes it does need a lot of 4 black, but outside of those situations, this card is one of the most valuable lands in the deck, and it's really the one you're going to be searching up a lot of times with Dig for Time if you really need a land. So I really enjoy it myself. I probably wouldn't play less than 3. Dismal. Dismal is just more life, and again, it's very valuable, so anytime you get it for free, it's a great thing. Now our second most valuable time to play tap land, Temple of Deceit. Temple of Deceit really allows you to scry and get you the threats you need, or to deal with threats you need to deal with. But life gain is really valuable, and it's a really huge coin toss sometimes, but I don't know, blinking cards is very valuable either way, and both of them really do it at different perspectives. Polluted Delta. Polluted Delta lets us deal with a lot of things as far as shuffled away, like Dig in particular. You can push a lot of cards that are great to the bottom, and then sometimes you'll dig and you'll see no spells at all. But the ability to shuffle that up and get some new life into your draws is great. And then I played 5 of each. Basics are really important, and you need to have a lot of free mana, and this only being a 2-color deck really gives you that flexibility. So, that's the main deck. Now, the side deck, I wanted to beat the heck out of red. I'll say that from the top. So, let's start off with 4 Drowned Sorrows. Now, these came in usually in 2 or 3 against the Marty midrange, but usually they were just slightly better than my average removal. And, again, what you really want this is against is the mono-red decks. The mono-red decks, especially the one that does 37 or so 1-drops, this is phenomenal. And you just basically want to kill everything on the build for 3 mana. Another card that's pretty good against that deck is Leech. Leech really lets you just gain life and keep gaining. You know, it blocks every once in a while, but really just to make sure that they don't get any value off of their can't block triggers. You really just want to attack in every turn and just hold removal when you want to, and make them use cards to deal you extra damage. Fricka's Cure. Fricka's Cure kills things. I killed a lot of Rabble Masters. So many Rabble Masters went down to this card today. That day at least. And, you know, the life gain is super important, and it really just pushes opponents back when they are trying to put some pressure on you. The other 2 Dismal, I only usually boarded in 1 of these at a time. I didn't play a lot of top-heavy decks, but, again, the Planeswalker only deck, this came in as a 4 of, but outside of that, I really don't trust how strong this card is a 4 of. Thoughtseize, again, just the 4th one, and my favorite card on the sideboard, Empty the Pits. Empty the Pits is a really great threat. I would play these in the main deck as my main deck threat in win condition if it didn't die to Bioblight. In this format, though, I feel like Bioblight is so underplayed that this could really see a real home somewhere. But anyway, that's my deck. I really like the deck, and I just feel very comfortable with blue-black right now. It plays a lot like white-blue back in the day, where it's Fixes Rev, but it doesn't have such a huge blowout when it goes off. Although it feels like you don't just draw 5 lands this time around. So you have that trade-off too. But anyway, you have to fight for your life gain, and you have to fight for your master removal. And Perilous Vault isn't cheap. So I guess that's one perspective. Thanks for watching, guys. And as always, Jesus loves you.